What's up, folks? Blaze Thompson back once again for Food Chart Fridays live. It's been a while. I'm excited to be back. And today we're going to be talking about quite a few things. Number one, we'll be looking at a food chart, talking about the truth, seeing what's happening, going on the ground with clientele that I see every week. And then number two, we're going to be looking at the topic of the power of the shadow and what that means, what it is I'm talking about with that information. So, first of all, let me tell you, Food Chart Fridays live is all about a real-world practical approach to fitness. The 1, 2, 3, 1 day a week to plan and execute nutrition. It's number one for a reason, because it's most important. 2 days a week of strength training, 3 days a week of cardio to get results. When you put them together, you get the most out of your fitness and you always get a healthy body fat percentage. This is supposed to be a forum that gives you an opportunity to ask questions, see what works, see what doesn't, what I'm doing with clients on the ground in the gym every week. All right, so the topic for the day is the power of shadow. And this is one that's got me a little nervous. It's something that I want to discuss. You know, we can talk about metaphysical as well as the psychological aspect of the shadow side of our personalities. You know, those characteristics are character defects that we take on in an effort to meet some preconceived notion we have of who we want to be and how we want to present ourselves in public that maybe cover up some of our insecurities, but at the same time, present to the outside of the world the effect that everything is okay. I've got my shit together, as opposed to what's really going on underneath that layer of the shadow side. So with that, it makes me think. I've got folks that come to the gym. I've seen, we'll say these 5 individuals over the period of time that have had the same 50 pounds to lose. They come in, they work out consistently. I see them doing cardio. I see them, doing X, Y, and Z to get themselves in better shape, but they've held on to the same 50 pounds forever. And then I ask them if they ever want help with what they want to do, and their answer or response to me is no. I've got it. I'm going in the right direction. Or other people who I see that are 50, 100 pounds overweight that I offer the opportunity to do a free session, because to me this thing is about empowerment when it comes to our physical fitness. I'll be happy to train somebody and teach them the basics for free, because that's all you have to do is the basics consistently to get great results. And a lot of times I'll hear people have the response, no, let me get in good shape first before I start working out, and then I'll have the opportunity to come and start doing some weightlifting with you. And what this is self-deception, right? This is what's really going on is, hey, I'm not confident enough in my own skin right now to be where I'm at, and I feel like I have to get to some preconceived place before I can really start to get in shape. When in reality, what it is to be in shape right now is about what you do today. It's about doing that minimum consistently. It's the most important word in fitness. Let me change gears here a little bit with the shadow side and speak to something to myself. I have a tendency to seek validation and attention externally. And sometimes I allow my yes not to mean yes and my no not to mean no. So if I say, I'm not going to do this particular behavior, like I have trouble going to bed on time, right? And sometimes I will scroll social media laying on the couch for like an hour just looking for something on social media. And if I'm completely honest about that shit, I look at that social media over and over again, and sometimes I'm just looking for something that might be about me. I'm like, somewhere someone must be talking about me, right? Which is completely self-centered and fucked up. And it's the shadow side. It's not what really feeds my spirit. But based on the belief systems and those things I learned as a child, it's what I came up with to survive. So in reality, the arrow's not hitting the target, right? The target would be self-love, self-care. I know it's bedtime. I know that I have consistently wanted to go to sleep on time, and even touching that phone is a form of self-abuse. And the fact that I'm not willing to give up the instant gratification of trying to find something on social media versus what would really be self-care and putting the phone down, realizing that I am worthy of my own attention and meeting my own needs and going to bed, right? That shadow work, the ability to be uncomfortable with myself alone without seeking that outside attention. That's what I'm talking about. And, crossing that back over into, and that's on the emotional quadrant of my health, right? Crossing that back over into the physical quadrant. Folks who I see that consistently need to lose weight, but they come from their shadow side. They let their ego get in the way of the opportunity to allow someone else to help and to simply follow the directions. So, we talk about the directions all the time here on Food Chart Fridays. 1 day a week to plan and execute your nutrition, 2 days a week of strength training, and 3 days a week of cardio. Number one is number one for a reason. And that's because our nutrition is most important. How do we get out of the shadow side immediately with our food? Because self-deception is what that shadow side is all about. A lot of times I cannot see what the fuck I'm doing. And that's what's interesting about the shadow, right? Like when I am in the shadow, I can see sometimes outside of the shadow where I want to go, but I'm not willing to come out of that darkness and go into the light, right? And so the way we can tackle that immediately when it comes to our nutrition is tell the damn truth. Write everything down. It's the number one most powerful way to get a grip on what you're doing with your food is fill out a food chart or make a food journal so you can look at exactly what's going on. And that's the other cool thing about the shadow, right? Like it's actually got some good components to it. Because when I'm in the shadow, I've got to have darkness or I don't know what light is. So to be in that dark place of doing the wrong things, it gives me an idea to really look at my values and say, does this work? For me, is not going to bed on time getting me to where I want to be? Hell no. Am I willing to look at it? Am I willing to get some accountability for going to bed on time, right? Like, with food, is eating the way I have been eating. Do I still need to have 50 pounds I need to lose, right? Then being willing to write down the truth with your food gives you an opportunity to look at what you're actually doing and get out of the shadow. That's the cool thing. How many times have you been in a room in the dark, feeling your way across the room, trying to make it? And as soon as you turn those lights on, boom, you can see everything that's close to you and get exactly where you're supposed to go. Or you've been, cast in the shadow back in a hallway somewhere and you can't see your way down the hallway. And as soon as you get the light, every step is much more confident. So by writing down everything that you eat, you do the same thing. You turn the lights on. And a lot of times, people aren't doing as bad as they think when it comes to their nutrition. It's just small little misses that when you turn the dial just a little bit each week over time, you make big changes and you get fantastic results. And that's exactly what we have to do in all those other quadrants of our life too. Emotional health, spiritual health, mental health, and our physical health. We just make small turns of the dial each day and quit looking at it through the lens of right and wrong. I have to work on that with myself a lot. I beat the shit out of myself when I don't do it perfect this time, and that starts to repeat that cycle of guilt and shame. So what I've had to look at is putting on a new pair of glasses, right? And the lens I try to look through is this healthy? Is this decision I'm making getting me the results I want? Is it taking me in the direction of health? Okay? And so that's once again another great reason to take a look and write down what you eat to get good results. So I want to talk about somebody today in their food chart. Boom. This is Dave L. Dave has been with us for quite some time. He lost a lot of weight a couple of years ago. He got cancer. He came back from the cancer. He struggled with his weight loss since he's come back. At one point he was over 300 pounds. At another point he's been down at 252. And over the past couple of months, in the beginning of this year, he was willing to write his food down. He wasn't doing great on his food charts. And I tell people all the time, here's what'll happen. When you start writing down your food, you'll either one, start making some changes and you'll do something different and you'll start to lose weight, or you're number two, you'll get so damn miserable that you quit, you get really fat and really out of shape, and then you'll come back more willing the next time to make a change. So Dave was writing down his food, but he wasn't changing what he was eating, and he was doing a little bit of this, and boom, he disappeared off the food chart map. He actually kept working out, which was good. He did his 2 and his 3, but he wasn't losing weight. And I had to have a tough talk with him here recently, and it got a little emotional. It's like, dude, something else is going on underneath with that shadow side, brother. You've got to be willing to admit to yourself it's not just about, oh, well, I just don't want to do it. There's some other emotion underneath your lack of willingness to look at the truth. And so he sat with it and he wrote down his food this week for the first time. And I'll tell you what, this food chart is not, it's not the shooting the arrow 100% on the target. But first things first, homeboy lost over 1.5 pounds this week just because he wrote the truth down. And that's what's cool. Most people will lose weight immediately when they write down the truth, because you have to look at everything you're actually doing and you don't realize, man, I had 3 Cokes today, I had tater tots, had this and that. I mean, on Dave's chart right here, he's got tater tots 2 times at lunch. He's got fries another day. He had a brownie one night, but he didn't have a lot of the other shit he was having in between meals, and he cut back on his portion size just a little bit. And in the beginning of your fitness journey, if you will just consistently do the minimum, if you'll be willing to turn the lights on and get out of the shadow and take an honest look at yourself, get away from that self-deception, have somebody else hold you accountable if you need to, boom, you get an opportunity for growth. And that's what's so beautiful about this process. And that's why for me, I really enjoy what I do, because this chart is not just a food chart, right? This is really like an inventory. This is a chance for every time Dave was supposed to eat a meal, he got an opportunity to look at himself and say, did I make a decision that aligned with my goals for health? Or did I make a decision that did not align with my goals for health? And then he can ask himself the deeper question, what's really going on? And he can learn how to care for himself better, one rep at a time from the inside out. That's what this stuff really and truly is. That's what the work that we do in our emotional quadrant, our physical quadrant, our spiritual quadrant, and our mental quadrant is too, when we apply these same basic strategies of consistently looking at our behavior and then asking ourselves, am I hitting the mark, right? And then when we need to, getting the outside help to help steer that ship so it can head down the river and stick with the current instead of fighting and paddling so damn hard in the absolutely opposite direction. So, we're always here to help on Food Chart Fridays. Once again, our goal is not always to get quite so deep into the layer of the onion, but a lot of times that's what happens because that's the work we're really doing. But it's an opportunity for you to ask questions, easy questions. Like, here's a basic answer. What's the number one thing I can do for my food? Write the shit down. If you write it down and you send it to me, I'll be happy to look at it and give you some feedback, whether you're halfway across the country or the world or you're right here in Greensboro, North Carolina with me. Secondly, what's the number one nutrient you need to include at every meal? It's protein. Protein is a fantastic base for your metabolism. It helps build muscle. It also helps to keep you feel full. It'll keep you from eating a bunch of sugary shit if you consistently eat protein throughout your day. Well, where do I start? Start eating the way your grandma told you. Have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then I suggest that you include little protein snacks in between so you can become consistent. Turn those lights on, people. Stop living in the shadow. Write it down. Get some accountability to other people in your life. You can do this. I love you. It's Food Chart Friday, and we'll be back again another time. If there's anything I can do for you, message me. Otherwise, be well.